The African Union Commission, through the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, is hosting the inaugural African Union Conference on Digital Agriculture under the theme Shaping Agricultural Policy for Africa's Future: Innovation, Climate-Smart Practices and Digital Transformation for Sustainable Development. The conference is set to discuss various cross-cutting thematic areas such as digital extension services, Agri-Tech Innovations, market access and value chains. For more on this, we joined on the line by Dr. Janet Adzem, Head of Rural Development Division and Acting Head of Agriculture and Food Security Division at the African Union Commission. A very good afternoon to you, Doctor. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be with you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So what is it that inspired the African Union to convene its first ever conference on digital agriculture?
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. Basically, we decided to convene this because we had already endorsed what we call the African Union Digital Transformation Strategy. And the overarching objective of this conference is for us to see how we can accelerate the adoption and the utilization of digital technologies in our continent's agricultural sector in order for us to be able to enhance productivity, sustainability, and also resilience. And we're bringing together the governments, we've brought together the private sector, the innovators, development partners, and farm organizations for us to have this platform, for us to look at how we can shape a common continental agenda on digital agriculture. And maybe a little bit in terms of what we are seeing as the specificities on the expected outcomes from this conference. We're looking at 4 key areas. First of all, we would like to provide a platform for us to be able to share cutting-edge solutions and best practices from across our continent. And then secondly, we're looking at how we can strengthen policy alignments among the African Union member states, our regional economic communities, and also our partners in order to ensure digital agriculture is integrated into national and regional strategies. And third, we're looking at the issues around investment. How do we begin to catalyze investment in scalable innovations that can improve productivity, resilience, market access and services for farmers, particularly our youth and women? And finally, how to promote partnerships that will drive the implementation of the digital agriculture strategy in Africa.
You speak about scalable innovations. Are there technologies that you've identified, digital technologies, that are expected to have perhaps the biggest impact on African agriculture?
Well, today has been the first day of the conference itself. So there have been quite a number of innovations that have been shared. When you're looking at it in terms of issues of how to provide farmers with market access information or issues around weather, particularly in the context of the climate change. So there have been quite a number of presentations that have been made showcasing some of these innovations that could be scalable. Tomorrow, we're really going to go into a deep dive where we're going to get more concrete innovations that are already in existence, maybe at project level, where we can look at the possibilities on how they can be scaled up, particularly in terms of the issues around how we can find the investment that will be needed for us to be able to scale up those innovations.
And there are persistent challenges that the one can highlight, issues of drought, pest control, poor soil health, low productivity. Are you hoping that these digital technologies will be able to focus on these key areas of concern?
Oh, absolutely. Otherwise, we're still going to continue facing the significant challenges that our continent has been facing. And already you have mentioned quite a number of them, issues around climate change itself, issues around limited access to finance, and even issues around out-of-date farming practices. So we are looking at how some of these innovations that we expect to have a deep dive into from tomorrow will be able to tell us how are they trying to address some of the challenges that we're facing. For example, if we're looking at issues around limited access to markets, are there platforms we can put in place for us to be able to provide the farmers with the kinds of information they would need in terms of the prices for their products and where they will get a good price for their products? Are there such platforms available? How do the farmers access the platforms? Do we have the infrastructure in place for the farmers to be able to get on those kinds of platforms? So tomorrow will be the second day, and it's already very exciting, this first day. So we believe that some of the innovations that will be presented tomorrow will begin to speak to how we can address some of these challenges that you had also already alluded to.
You mentioned also as one of your objectives policy alignment. What policy frameworks is the AU proposing to accelerate this digital transformation within the agricultural sector?
When we're looking at the policy frameworks, the first challenge we're having is that even at the national level, you will have the Ministry of Agriculture, then you have the ICT, then you have finance, then you have trade. And none of these ministries are talking to themselves. And they all have different policies that, of course, have also been guided by the African Union Commission. So basically what we're looking at now is how do we begin to look at some synergies or some platforms where we can harmonize how each of these policies from the different ministries that are important if we're talking about how to scale up digital agriculture. So we will work with our member states and, of course, our regional economic communities to look at how we can put in place a platform where we can bring all of these various ministries together in addition to the policies they already have in place, and how we can begin to identify some of the commonalities along those policies that could help to fast track the uptake of digital tools and innovations in our member states.
If we look, Doctor, at the composition of the agricultural workforce, the majority of it is made up of smallholder farmers. How will digital agriculture benefit these smallholder farmers?
In a lot of ways, because today the first session we're talking about was how do we begin to simplify the platforms for farmers to be able to have access to the benefits they can get from the digital space. So the first thing would have to be the simplification, making these tools simplified enough for the farmers to be able to make use of them, and also make sure that they are going to be easy for the farmers to be able to access. And of course, the issues of the infrastructure is very critical. Most farmers also do not have the kinds of support that they would need. So how do we as governments begin to support the farmers to make sure that those platforms are simple, easy to understand, easy to access? You don't have several steps to go through for the farmers to get that information. So tomorrow we will be able to hear a bit more in terms of what some of our partners have been able to put in place in terms of the simplification of some of these platforms where the farmers could access the information they need for their farms.
Dr. Janet Edem, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and wishing you all of the best for this turnkey agricultural gathering.
Thank you very much as well for having me. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.
You have a good one too. That's Dr. Janet Edem, Head of Rural Development Division. She's also the Acting Head of Agriculture and Food Security Division at the African Union Commission.